Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to a new China product review. Today we're gonna take a look at a very special product, because today we're gonna take a look at a fake MacBook Air. Yes, you heard right, I'm also very excited about that, so let me tell you what you should expect. It's not a full one-to-one copy, so you will notice differences in the design and also the hardware is different. And this copy is running Windows instead of Mac, but maybe it is possible to install Hackintosh or iAdCOS on it. I will test it in the next days. So this clone comes with an Intel NM10 chipset and a D2500 dual-core CPU running at 1.9 GHz, 4 GB of DDR3 RAM and a 500 GB hard drive, which is customizable. It features a 14-inch display at a resolution of 1366 x 786 pixels. Also the GPU is integrated, so it's an Intel GMA 3650, so it's not a gaming notebook but great for portable use. And Wi-Fi is onboard, also it comes with Windows 7 pre-installed. Battery lifetime should be 2 to 3 hours depending on the usage. And as always, the specs link is in the description. It's from dhgate.com. The seller is IT360, which has a really good reputation, and that is also why I ordered from him. Here you can see the package which I have received. And now guys, let's unpack it together. Okay guys, so now let's open up the package and let's get this beauty here out of the box. And if you order something from China, then you can see that it is wrapped in 1000 layers of plastic wrapped around the whole box here, but that is completely normal, so it won't get damaged during the shipping. And also for the customs, so if you take a look at that, then you don't see at the first look, hey, that looks like a fake MacBook Air, so let's seize it. But hey, that depends on the country you're living in. For instance, in Germany, they are very strict, and if they see there's an Apple logo or something on that, then they will seize it and send it back to China. And I would recommend, before you buy any of those products, then just read the reviews. For instance, you can find reviews on dhgate.com right under the product, and there you have reviews from buyers who also have bought this product, and this is really helpful. Okay, so this is the package which I have received. Here we can see that it looks like a MacBook Air, but there is no Apple logo on the package, also it does not say anything about MacBook. On the opposite side we have exactly the same picture, and here on this side of the package we should see some specs from the notebook, so let's check that out. Here we can see iPhoto and iMovie support, but this is not true because this device is running Windows. Also it should have an advanced NVIDIA graphics processor, but this is also not true because we have an Intel GMA 3650. And here it says aluminum unibody design, but this is also not true because we have a plastic unibody design. There are also aluminum unibody versions, but they are a little bit more expensive. Okay, so now let's open up the box and let's see how it looks like. So there we go. And on the top we have the notebook, as you can see, wrapped in plastic with the logo. So now let's get it out of the box, and before we take a closer look at that, let us take a closer look at the accessories which come with the notebook. And I think the accessories should be here under this white card box. So now let's raise it up and let's see what we have here. So under this card box we can find a power supply and a very short user manual. And the power supply doesn't have a MagSafe connector, so this is really the cheapest version, which just has a round DC-in connector, and you should also get the correct wall plug for your country. Then the short user manual here just tells you how to charge your notebook, how to turn it on or off, so really just the basics, and you won't need it at all. Okay, so now here you can see the notebook, and as you can see it comes wrapped in a lot of plastic and also has this air buffer here between the display and the keyboard, so it won't get damaged during the shipping. And now I'll remove all that plastic foils and all that stuff, and then we'll take a closer look at the power supply and the notebook itself. Now just to summarize, in the package there was the notebook, a power supply and a short user manual. The battery is already in, and now before we take a closer look at the notebook, let's take a look at the power supply. Now here you can see the power supply which comes with the notebook. As you can see, nothing special, so we have a normal power supply which you can get in every local electronics store, which has an output of 3.5 amps at 19 volts, which is something about 65 watts. When you purchase the notebook you also get the correct wall plug for the power supply. And the only bad thing is that it doesn't have a MagSafe connector for the notebook. You just have this round, ugly DC-in connector. I think there are also models which have a MagSafe connector and also have an aluminum body design, but they are much more expensive, and I just wanted the cheapest notebook which I can get. And at this time, this was the cheapest one. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at the notebook itself. And as you can see, it looks really awesome, but it's not made out of aluminum, it's made out of plastic. but therefore it's really lightweight. This 14-inch notebook only weighs about 1.7 kilograms, and this is extremely lightweight. And if you check out the link in the description, then you will notice that there are two versions of this notebook, so you can purchase it with or without the Apple logo. And the Apple logo has LED backlight and also lightens up when you open up the notebook. And I just thought, YOLO, let's just purchase it with the Apple logo. And actually it looks pretty good, but you can definitely see that they just take the version without the logo and cut the logo out of the lid cover, because you can see that the Apple logo is a little bit under the surface of the lid cover. But it looks okay, it's not the perfect copy, so you can see it's fake, but it looks actually pretty good. Then here you can see the notebook when it's opened up, and as you can see the display looks really good, so it's completely dark when it's off. Then also the display frame looks a little bit too thick for me, so here you can see definitely on the first look that it is fake. But if you take a closer look at the notebook here from the side, then you can see that it is extremely thin. So if the wind is blowing strong like now, then you can see that the display starts to bounce a little bit. So it is really extremely thin and flexible. And I think the display here is not much thicker than on the real MacBook Air. And here you can see the keyboard of the MacBook, and as you can see, this is the American keyboard layout, so Z and Epsilon are switched here. And maybe it's possible to get a different keyboard layout, but you have to ask the seller about that. On the top we have function buttons, so for the display brightness and all that stuff, which you can use with the FM button. And we also have a Windows button, and this is why I love this notebook, because it has a Mac design, but it's not running that damn Mac OS. Also here on the top of the keyboard you will find 3 LEDs, so you will find the Wi-Fi LED, the battery charging LED, and also the power LED. So there's no MacBook logo here over the keyboard. The only logo would be the Apple on the top cover if you want to have that, but if you don't want to have that, you can also order it without the Apple logo. Then here you can see the touchpad of the notebook, and I have to say it actually feels pretty good. It is also made out of plastic. Also, if you apply a lot of pressure on the touchpad, then it won't deform or something. I'm not sure if it supports multi-touch points, but we will later see that in the review. But here on the first look, the touchpad looks pretty solid. Then here you can see the back side of the notebook, and as you can see it's a little bit curvy. Here on the left and on the right side we have speakers. Then we have those rubber stands here on both sides. Those are needed because the backside is curvy, and without those rubber stands the notebook wouldn't stay straight. All along the frame you will also see several screws, so if you want to open up that back cover you just have to unscrew the screws and then you can release the back cover, so it's really easy. Then here on the bottom you can see the slot here to raise the lid, and basically that was everything here on the back side. And now let's release the battery, and therefore you just have to unlock it with those 2 sliders here, and then you can easily remove it. Under the battery you will find a sticker and this black foil. Directly under the black foil there should be the main board, and this foil is to protect it. The battery can be easily replaced, so if it breaks down you can order a replacement battery. The battery itself looks really amazing, so it's made out of plastic but it's really slim. To keep the whole notebook slim, also the battery has to be slim, and I think it's not much thicker than my smartphone battery. It's really long but it's very slim. Then here on the top you can see the connector, so as you can see this battery can be easily replaced. To get some more information about the battery, we can take a closer look at the sticker here on the battery. Here it says it's a lithium-ion battery pack rated at 7.4 volts with 26 watt hours. So if you take 10 watts for the power consumption of the whole notebook, you get a battery lifetime of about 2 to 3 hours depending on the usage. Now enough from the battery, and now let's take a closer look at the connectors. So we're now here on the left side from the notebook, and as you can see the top cover is a little bit longer than the display to cover the whole notebook. So here you can also see that it's definitely fake. Then as I said, we don't have a MagSafe connector, so we just have this DC-in jack right over here. Maybe it's possible to change that, so you have to ask the seller about that. Then here we have a USB 2.0 port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, then this little hole should be the microphone of the notebook. And now we come to the Ethernet port, so therefore you have to open up this plastic cover. So this is a really cool solution, and then you can plug in here your Ethernet cable, and then you just have to close it again. Yeah, basically that were all the connectors here on the left side. And now let's take a look at the other side. Okay, so now we're here on the opposite side where we only have 3 connectors. Let's start on the right where we have a mini HDMI output, so you can use an external monitor with that notebook, but if the external monitor only has an HDMI input, you have to use a mini HDMI to HDMI adapter cable. Then here we have another USB port, and this here should be the card reader. Basically that were all the connectors here on the notebook. on the backside there are no connectors, and now let's take a look at the rest of the notebook. And as I said, on the backside there are no connectors, but there you will find the heatsink, so the hot air goes out here. The notebook should be really silent, it only has 1 or 2 really silent fans, which only run if the temperature gets too high. And here once again you can see the display, it actually looks really good, it's thin, completely black when turned off, in each corner there's a rubber pad, and on the top there's the front camera. Only when the wind is really strong it starts to bounce a little bit, and the frame is too big for me, but beside of that it really looks good. And now I want to see how big the notebook actually is. Does it really deserve the title Ultra Slim? We will see it right now. Okay, so let's get started, and now let's measure the width and the height of the top case. So now let's start with the width, and there we get about 33.5 centimeters. Then let's measure the height, where we get about 22.5 centimeters, which results in about 39 centimeters diagonal, which is something about 15.4 inches. So that means bigger than the MacBook, but this one also has a 14-inch display and the real MacBook only has a 13.3-inch display. And now let's measure the thickness. So it's not that easy to measure correctly because the backside is a little bit curvy, but let's try to measure here on the thickest spot. With the rubber stand we get about 28 millimeters, so almost 3 centimeters. Then here on the other rubber pad we get about 21 millimeters. And on the slimmest spot here on the top we only get about 8 to 9 millimeters. That's actually okay, but those rubber pads make the whole notebook about 5 millimeters thicker. But you cannot remove them because the backside is curvy, and without them the notebook wouldn't stay straight. But without them I measure only 23 and 16 millimeters, so really slim. But even with those rubber pads it's really slim compared to my 17-inch MSI gaming notebook. And for the university it's really perfect if you have such a small notebook. Also due to the plastic case it's really lightweight, and therefore I'm trading performance for mobility. And actually that can sometimes be really good. Okay guys, so we're now at the end of this unboxing and first look video, and I will now switch it on and test it, and the full review will be online in the next days. I will also try to install Hackintosh with dual boot on it to make it even more awesome. So if you're interested, check out the link in the description of dhgate.com. The shipping with DHL Express is expensive, but it arrived after 3 days, so I can really recommend it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Also don't forget to visit chinadevices.com for the latest China products. So as always guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next videos. Bye bye!